What is up, you guys? We are back again today with another post from the Neville sub. This one is called An Epiphany About the Behind the Scenes of Manifesting. And let's get into it. So, after reading just one chapter of William Boulon's Adventure Beyond the Body, I became overwhelmed with a new epiphany and the need to write it down. Everything he said, I was able to relate back to manifestation, 3D and 4D, and it had clicked before, but now it really clicked. Like the full process, the behind the scenes, it all makes sense now. This will make a bit more sense if you know anything about OBEs or AP. So I think that's out of body experiences or astral projecting. If our thoughts in the non-physical world automatically take form, it makes sense that the same thing would happen in this physical world, but at a slower rate since our bodies are denser. Imagination is the present reality because as soon as we have a thought, it instantly materializes in the non-physical dimension, aka the 4D. Just like in our non-physical bodies when astral projecting, it just takes a bit longer for our thoughts and therefore our desire to reach this physical dimension because we may be having different thoughts regarding the subject. Therefore, each of those thoughts is manifesting instantly. It's the state you return to most that ends up manifesting. This is why persistence is important. The state you return to most frequently, your residing state, ends up being the state that manifests into this physical world. Similarly, total knowing that your desire is a fact will give you the manifestation almost instantly because you've essentially become aligned with your desire and your residing state does not fluctuate between having and not having. I hope this post makes sense. It did in my head at least. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially this part right here, the state you return to most frequently, your residing state. I always talk about that. I always talk about how the state that you dwell in the most, the state that is your baseline, and that is where you're operating from. So it doesn't matter if you do affirming, for example, and then you affirm for a couple minutes. Let's say you affirm for 5 minutes during the day, but then you spend the rest of the day in this state of lack, in this state of, worrying, and this state of why can't I get what I want? Why isn't it here yet? Why questioning in the doubts and the fears and all of that, you're going to get what your baseline state is. That's why, like they said in this, the persistence is so important. That's why with robotic affirming, it's something that we actively do. In the case of people that are able to manifest something where it's just, they, like I said, repeat their affirmations for 5 minutes throughout the day and that's all that they do, those things are things that those people do not have a ton of resistance for already. For things that you already have resistance towards, things that are important, that have an elevated level of importance, there's a lot of resistance around them. There's a lot of non-belief. There's a lot of, well, what if this and what if that? And how can I make it happen? This, and this. And my mother told me this. Well, growing up, we believe this. So how can I, that type of stuff, whether it's your SP, whether it's your career, whether it's you want that big thing that that you struggle with, that you have resistance towards, that's where the robotic affirming, doing it, persisting in it, persisting and disciplining your awareness becomes vitally important because this, again, that will, over time, doing that persistence and doing that in a robotic way where it becomes normalized for you. And there, like, at first there might be like 70% resistance, then, or 80 even. Then there might be, slowly like 65, 60%. Once you pass that 50% threshold where it's like, okay, I mean, maybe it could happen, and you're sort of entertaining the idea that, I mean, I guess this could possibly happen. then the magic starts to happen, because then you're entering that world of possibilities. Well, it might not be the most likely thing, but it is possible. I see other people are doing it. What's stopping it from happening to me? And then slowly over time, that 50% turns to 40%, turns to 30%. But the more that you spend your awareness, the more the time that you allow your awareness to dwell on this, whether it's through robotic affirming, just persisting in that new awareness. And I think affirming is probably one of the easiest ways to do that throughout the day. Talked before about how visualizing is great, but you have to have designated visualization sessions. So affirming being the tool that you'd most likely use to go back to this, to change that mental diet. That is where now you're able to change that state that you reside in most frequently, and you're changing it slowly to, okay, well, yeah, maybe that could happen. And it went from all the way from, oh my gosh, I don't know, there's no way that this could happen, to, maybe it's a possibility. And then eventually, yeah, why not? Why not? Why can't, maybe it'll happen, who knows? It could happen this month. It could happen, it's just about entertaining that new idea. So, and this is very true too. Vadim Zeland in his books talks about how the 3D reality is a mirror to your inner reality, and it is inert. It takes time for this to reflect what is going on in your internal world, in your inner world, in your inner reality. And it's very, very true. So I like the way that this was worded. It's talking about concepts that we discuss all the time here, but it's really worded in a good way. And sometimes it helps to hear things said in multiple different ways for it to finally click. And that's why I wanted to share this. So we have Mia Columbine wrote, also in astral projecting, we don't think, we feel. If we think too much, we will go back to our body. We don't think how we fly in the non-physical realm. We just have the intention, and boom, it appears/happens. In the physical world, it takes time before your desires materialize in front of you, but everything is moving once you set intention. It's about knowing it will happen without worrying how it will happen. Exactly. And then the OP writes, yeah, it's like you think about wanting to fly and then you do it, or you think about floating through the roof and then you're propelling upwards. It's a mixture of both, it seems. So yeah, I don't have personally that much experience like astral projecting, I guess, but I have a lot of experience lucid dreaming. And I can say that in lucid dreaming, it is very much the same thing. You think the thing, you have the intention, but it's not like thinking. And that's an interesting distinction that they're making. It's like you have the intention. The same way that we have the intention, we lift our arm up, right? It's not like I'm like thinking like, oh, like now it's time to lift my arm. It's like more this gut process, more this intuitive process that is just straight intuition to action. And that is the process that we have in lucid dreaming. And of course, it happens because we think, yes, it's possible. Another thing that's interesting for me personally is that when I lucid dream, I don't necessarily fly, because in my waking state, the state that I'm most comfortable in, or the state that I'm spending most time in, obviously, like my waking state, I don't believe that flying is possible. So for whatever reason, my beliefs are transmitted into my lucid dreaming state. And so a lot of the time I'll be doing really amazing things. I'll be going on awesome trips, flying on jets, or going to these great events and having the best time and manipulating situations and circumstances, and not in a negative way, but in a positive way, and in a way where the situation unfolds so amazingly for everyone involved. And I'll be doing all these types of things that I imagine that, would be a part of my dream life, right? Or situations and circumstances that I think would be so fun, going on a boating trips, like going to some chateau in France or in Italy or something, and having some, nice, like wine tasting dinner event thrown that I'm attending, stuff like that, right? But I generally don't fly. In fact, I can't really think of any times that I've flown per se in my lucid dreams. That's another side tangent, I suppose, but it is interesting that, your intentions, they manifest instantly in lucid dreaming, right? But that could also be a product of what you believe is possible. And since I don't believe flying is possible, not in my waking state, not in my 3D reality, I don't have that belief. It doesn't translate into my lucid dream, which is interesting. However, like I said, side thought. Maybe I can do another video on lucid dreaming if you guys would be interested in that. But it definitely is a good way of practicing. And Vadim talks about this, like practicing your power of intention. If you guys are interested in lucid dreaming, I can do a video on that. One thing I would recommend is keeping a dream journal. That has been the most effective thing for me. You have to get in the habit of dream recall if that's something that you want to practice before you begin to enter a lucid state while dreaming. It's a very useful tip. So for the process of that. But yeah, without letting this video go on any longer, great little post here. I'll leave a link to it in the description as usual. Let me know what you guys think about this. Can you guys relate? Does this resonate with you guys? I know for sure when I read this post, it did for me, because that baseline state is what we're going after, the state that we most usually reside in, the state that we go back to continually. Anyways, guys, with that being said, much love. Drop me a like, hit me with a comment, drop me a comment, hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next video.